Hello and welcome to Diminishing Returns. It's a special week here at the podcast, here at Podcast HQ, where we record our podcast. Where do we record it, Alan?
Somewhere in England.
Ooh, very, very secretive. It's a very special week because this is our first ever Patreon vote episode. I don't really know how to word it better than that. That doesn't sound right, does it? Basically, we've got a Patreon. If you haven't heard yet, go to patreon.com/dimreturns and you can get all sorts of bonus content and shit for as little as $1 a month. Oh my god! That's nothing. That is basically nothing at all. It's like, why are we even bothering taking that from people? What's the point? It's that little. But anyway, $1 a month and you get all this bonus stuff. And one of the things you can do is vote for upcoming episodes. And this is the first such fruit of said loins. This episode now.
Now, Sol, I know you were in charge of the vote. Now, I just can't help noticing that the film that we're looking at today, the Patreon voters have chosen, is The Iron Giant, which also happens to be a personal favourite of yours. Coincidence?
I know. It is actually. Yeah? I know what you're implying.
What?
But I mean, look, I've got the breakdown here. I can list every single patron who voted for.
They want to be anonymous. It's anonymous voting.
Oh, yeah.
Well, just tell us what came close. What were the other options?
Very quickly, I'm Sol, in case you haven't heard that, right? That other guy who's been talking, that's
Hello.
Alan. I think we used his name a few times. We are joined this week by regular friend of the show, co-host, and patron herself, Ms. Judy Bignell.
Hola!
Which did you vote for, Judy?
She missed it. She joined way after this.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not even gonna pretend.
You can though, Judy. You can vote for our upcoming one. I haven't discussed this with Alan, but I'm just gonna say it. We'll be launching. Alan can veto it, and we'll edit it out. But if not, let's see how you feel about this, Alan. Yeah. If you join our Patreon, you can go and take part in our new vote that will be launching soon. So probably by the time this episode actually drops, which will be to decide the episode for our upcoming Halloween episode this year. Ooh. We'll put some spooky film. We'll put some spooky film choices up there, and you can select which one we do.
Cool.
How do you feel about that, Alan? You cool with that?
I'm very cool with that.
Yeah, we did a big 3-part balls to the wall vote for this episode, just as the first one.
It was a bit like the vote for a new Tory party leader.
Yeah, it was exactly
topical politic reference.
Or the Democratic primary, if you're an American.
Yeah.
Similar situation.
Or insert election of your nation here.
But yeah, we just threw it out to all our patrons, and we didn't even say one film each. We just said any film you want us to cover, just send them our way and we'll put them on the poll. I would generally say one listener might suggest something completely ludicrous, but then if it's going to win the vote, it's going to be probably quite a decent idea. And I would say that's borne true so far, but Alan would probably go, Iron Giant, you fucking having a laugh.
No, I love watching mediocre animation.
Oh.
So, out of the options that you said there were, I am very surprised that the Iron Giant won that vote.
I'm massively surprised, and I'm a big fan of the Iron Giant.
Well, what else? What was beaten out?
Look, I'll tell you now, right? Do you want to know? So we did this in rounds individually, okay? So it was like a little tournament. Round 1, well, basically it came down to Fargo and Groundhog Day. Groundhog Day won it overwhelmingly. No surprise there.
So that would be an interesting one to talk about, yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, both solid choices there, I think. Fargo and Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
I think if we did an episode on Fargo, it'd just be me like masturbating over how good it is. And then,
well, that's what our listeners want to hear.
And that's what we're going to get from Sol today. So.
But that's good, because that's why we have the counter, and, you know, that's why there's more than one of us. But I really thought Groundhog Day was going to run away with it. It won round 1. Round 2, weirdly, it came down to Wallace and Gromit, as in like a whole Wallace and Gromit retrospective, and
That
the
would have been
Iron
really
Giant.
cool.
Yeah, and the Iron Giant won it. And then round 3, it came down to, well, basically the Silence of the Lambs. So the finale...
There wasn't any options in
sorry.
that one. It was very clear-cut vote.
The Silence of the Lambs, Groundhog Day, and the Iron Giant.
That's a nice mix of stuff, though.
And the Iron Giant fucking won.
Yeah.
It
got twice as many. No,
bullshittery.
it got twice as many votes as Groundhog Day, which was in second.
I think that says something about the infantile nature of our listenership.
I think it does say something about the demographic we've got listening. Certainly, I think they're all young men of a certain age, of which I fall into that demo. You know, so hey guys, I'm one of you.
I'm not.
I'll defend you guys. I'll be going to bat for you. Alan's going to be coming hard and fast, and we'll just hit him with an uppercut.
The Iron Giant has been chosen as our Patreon listener vote episode. So,
and if you're interested, listener, we also ran a patron vote for an upcoming season of episodes, and the Blood and Ice Cream trilogy ran away with that one. That was just overwhelmingly they won it. So you have that to look forward to.
Do you know what that is, well. Judy?
It's the Cornetto trilogy, but under a different name, because Sol doesn't use that name.
Well, you're using the kind of layman name. I'm using the
Blood and Ice Cream trilogy.
Yeah.
What about laymen who don't know that either? It's the Edgar Wright films, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and World's End, whatever that last one's called.
Yeah.
Should we jump into the film?
Right, yeah. So, The Iron Giant was the choice made. We've watched it. Now, okay, yeah. So, as I said earlier, Sol, I know this is a big favourite of yours. I presume there's some childhood nostalgia involved in that.
I don't know if there is really. I did see this about. I was probably about 10.
Yeah.
When about like on video after it came out, didn't see it at the cinema, and I didn't really think anything of it as a kid, and I just thought, all right, whatever. And it was only years later, I think post The Incredibles, in fact, after Brad Bird had become a bit of a thing, and everyone was making a big song and dance about how wonderful this film was, and Brad Bird was brilliant, that I went back to it and really sort of fell in love with it. So I don't think it has got much childhood nostalgia for me, unless you count watching it when I was 15, 16 and as childhood.
I'm looking forward to hearing what you've got to say about it, because I watched it again for this episode. It's the second time I've seen it, and I'm just not struck by it in any way whatsoever. I don't even know what's supposed to be good about it. I don't get it.
Well, I mean, just to kind of lay things out on the table, I not only really like this film, but it is like one of my all-time favorite films. It is.
Why?
It is my second favorite film.
But you're going to have to do some explaining, so you're going to have to really go into that, because
it's a firm top 3. Anyway.
That is but Jesus wept. Okay, but that is a really strong place to be coming from. So please, do unpick that, because I'm like Alan. I don't get that at all, and that's not just you saying, "Oh yeah, I do really really like it." That top 3.
Well, I mean, it has a giant kaiju type creature, which Sol is a big fan of. It's Brad Bird. Sol's a big fan of Brad Bird, director. There's no dad. I know that always appeals to Sol, and his father issues. It's always a thing for him. I don't know what else.
I think it's one of the most. I think it's one of the most stunningly beautiful films ever made.
Are you talking about that in terms of visual animation?
Well,
basically,
everything,
or emotional story.
Oh yeah, no, I mean visually, yeah.
Okay, now I am prepared to accept here that I'm a bit of a layman when it comes to animation, and perhaps you are seeing something beautiful here that I'm not. But it just, for me, it evoked sort of 80s Disney, like that sort of style.
It was crass 20th century Fox style. I'll put it out there now. It didn't feel as sophisticated as Anastasia, but on the same kind of level as Anastasia, which was known as, the 20th Century Fox film there was like a poor man's Disney. So this is like a poor man's Disney.
Well, I think you're being very dismissive of the work of Don Bluth, actually, Judy, who
I think I am.
who animated the likes of Anastasia and was the...
Oh no, I loved Anastasia. I did. I really enjoyed it, but it wasn't. It was a poor man's Disney.
Well, no, Don Bluth was the kind of darker, ugly step sibling of Disney, but he was a very well respected animator. He brought a lot to his projects.
Oh god, yeah. I mean, I couldn't animate anywhere near as well as that or the Iron Giant, but in terms of the finish and the quality of it, it comes across as kind of like a cheaper version of Disney, and then this I don't think even holds up to that.
Well, Disney is the fucking top of the
okay,
top,
so
though,
poor man's Disney is still
it's like
accurate.
It's like, you know, if someone called me a poor man's Brad Pitt, I'd be very complimented by that.
No, Sol, you're a poor man's Keanu Reeves. Everybody knows that.
But okay, but
that's
I
fine.
mean,
I'll say that. I'm happy with that.
My point is, though, surely then I'm not being that dismissive if you're agreeing. You're saying it
well,
can
no,
be a good
I
thing.
think you're saying it in a very dismissive way. I think you're trying to be very dismissive. I think this film is utterly stunning.
But what I'm trying to kind of say it as a counter to you, I guess, because I don't understand. Like Alan asked you, what is it about it? And you're saying that the animation is very good. I'm kind of going, well, to me, it doesn't actually look that high quality. Although I couldn't produce it, God, I couldn't. It doesn't seem overwhelmingly anything. So that's why I'm still trying to gauge where your really strong reactions come from. Okay,
it's one of the last substantially notable hand-drawn animated films out there, sadly. Even though they were still making these things relatively consistently for another 10 years. So it's kind of, this is about as far as hand-drawn animation technology ever got. You've got these gorgeously painted backgrounds that are just lovely. You've got seamless integration of digital effects. Obviously, the Iron Giant himself is a CGI character. That was a revolution at the time.
Oh, wait, let me stop you there, because I didn't know that.
I was going to say, I wouldn't have known that.
And so, yeah, I'll grant you that was seamless. I will say that when we see the shipwreck at the beginning, I could tell that the waves were CG. That sort of jumped out a little bit. But no, I didn't pick up the giant himself was CGI. I wouldn't have known that.
So yeah, no, that is really interesting seeing that transition.
Yeah, I think,
and credit to it.
I think, and I might be wrong in saying this, but I believe he was the first ever fully CGI character integrated within a hand-drawn film. You could make the argument that the magic carpet in Aladdin was, but he was kind of hand-drawn patterns layered over digital stuff, so I don't think it quite counts. But there's a lot of CGI in this film. The satellite at the start, all the cars and bicycles and things, most vehicles. It gets a lot of use. It's all used very seamlessly.
Why
and beyond
is that CG then?
Well, I think typically it's just you're making a vehicle or something like that. It's kind of pointless drawing it every single frame differently, and it's nice to be able to turn it and look at it from different angles, whereas
I guess
the point of doing hand-drawn is to get emotive character movements and facial expressions and things like that. So
yeah, rather than movement of the item or the object. Yeah. Okay.
And I certainly imagine that's how why they've approached it this way with this film. But I mean, God, beyond that, there's lighting effects in this film that are fucking remarkable. That shot where Hogarth looks out from the rooftop with his torch and it shines the light across
yeah, God, I was thinking that's very good torch.
Yeah, but stuff like that's really fucking impressive animation. I genuinely don't entirely know how they did that. My best guess is they just painted two backgrounds and kind of digitally went between
the lights. Yeah,
but there's a lot of very impressive lighting work in this film, which I suppose isn't something you typically think about, but just the lighting on some of the characters in some of the scenes is gorgeous, and then beyond that, the general aesthetic they're pulling together as well. I mean, this film pretty much set the visual aesthetic for Pixar's movies. or at least how they approach human characters in Pixar films, I think you can pin that exactly, like, there's a straight line from this film to everything Pixar's done for however many years they've been going. Because obviously Pixar were up and running when this was made. They'd made Toy Story, and you remember how freakish and gangly the humans are in the first Toy Story. You only really started to get human characters properly being used in The Incredibles, which was Brad Bird's follow-up to this over at Pixar. And basically it took Brad Bird's character design, his sort of aesthetic on board, which is just a CGI version of how his characters are drawn here and how they're kind of put together here. And that's stuck
you
with
say
Pixar.
That. I think style-wise, I saw it in I couldn't even tell you the guy's name, but the kind of detective who is like really pestering and badgering Hogarth's family.
Yeah, I want to talk about him as well.
Like him, but in terms of style, I'd say he's the only one I can really see the Pixar aesthetic come through. Like the rest just looks like 20th Century Fox style animation. It doesn't really seem that distinctive.
Really? I mean,
yeah.
Like the fisherman at the start? You don't remember what he looks like? He's got such a great craggy face.
Well, yeah, but I don't see that as, the kind of the Pixar look. I definitely see it with the redhead guy with the hat and the long nose and the long face.
Honestly, I'm telling you, look at a character like Hogarth, and then look at some Pixar concept art where someone's drawn the character before they've rendered it in a computer.
Yeah, okay, yeah, concept art, yeah, maybe.
Basically the exact same art style. It's remarkable. But talking about that detective guy, Kent Mansley, you're talking about.
Oh, there you go. Thank you.
I can't find any confirmation of this anywhere. I don't know how it would have happened, but I am convinced that is a caricature of Pete Docter, who is one of Pixar's directors. He directed Finding Nemo and Up, among other films. I can't find any reason or proof that Brad
confirmation.
Well, yeah, because Brad Bird wasn't at Pixar yet. There's no reason or rhyme why he would have met this guy, but they were both working in animation, so it stands to reason that they probably did run in some similar circles and had met. Google Pete Docter.
I'm looking at pictures of Pete Docter now, and I certainly can see what you're saying. He has got a sort of cartoon face.
It's got to be a caricature of him, surely. Look him up, Judy. See what you think.
I'm in the process of manoeuvring. Yep, hang on. Oh, fucking hell.
It's him, isn't it? It's like,
dude, that man's got a forehead. Well, I definitely see it in terms of the ridiculous kind of facial proportions there. That they really accentuated more in the Iron Giant. I mean, God damn, God damn.
And look, I mean, it's not the most sort of fluid animation. It's not like Disney stuff like Aladdin that we discussed recently, where the characters really ebb and flow into this kind of, very fluid visual aesthetic. It's got a much more like realistic approach to its animation, but there's still so much personality when the characters are talking. And if you really pay attention to the movements they're doing and the facial expressions they're doing, there's a lot going into it.
I think facially they achieve a lot with actually, the fact that they haven't got the technology then that they're using now, and all of that. I do definitely think there's a lot that they've managed to emote through the characters, even though the drawing style does seem more simplistic. I'm gonna use as the word, just not as refined.
I think it's an aesthetic as well that I'm quite primed to like. It's it's very similar to Futurama, for example, which is one of my favorite TV. Well, it is my favorite TV show. It's that kind of blend of hand drawn and bits of CGI just to elevate it and make it look even better when necessary. And it's quite a common look from animation around the turn of the century, from around the year 2000-ish, and then it kind of went away as CGI just completely replaced hand-drawn animation pretty much altogether, which is very sad, because I love it, but I can see how to no offense, guys, but to like animation layman's, it would kind of perhaps not seem
Just
that
looks
impressive.
a bit more jarring.
No, definitely. But also, the demographic of this film surely is young children, and they're not going to pick up on stuff like that consciously. So there has to be something more to this film.
And, I think Brad Bird would probably take issue with calling it a kid's film. He's the kind of guy who'd kick off about that and be like,
What guy who works at Pixar?
With due respect, it's not a kid's film. It is suitable for kids, but it is not a kid's film.
Well, I would agree with that, to be honest with you. But I presume, from a marketing point of view, this is a kid's film and we're selling it to kids.
Well, from a marketing point of view, this film bombed hard and didn't do very well and completely
Well, I'm not
underperformed
surprised.
Probably because he wasn't aiming it at kids. Should have just aimed it at kids.
Put a final nail in hand-drawn animation in a lot of ways, because this was when, people just weren't interested in these films, particularly Disney were pumping out shit hand-drawn animation at this time, the likes of Brother Bear, for example.
Brother Bear was awesome. That's a well good film.
Fucking hell.
You can't talk, you like the Iron Giant.
Yeah, an excellent film.
In terms of animation, Brother Bear was not bad anyway.
Yeah, in terms of the actual animation, Disney have never pretty much not put a foot wrong since the 80s. Like, yeah, the animation of Brother Bear is gorgeous, but the film's a load of shit.
You're knocking it because it's shamanic again. You're not spiritual, Soul. That's the problem.
Brother Bear's not like... Brother Bear...
It's about shamanism and stuff
Brother
like
Bear's
that.
not a well-regarded film.
I know it's not, but it's great. It's cracking.
The Iron Giant is.
No, you just said it bombed.
No, it financially underperformed. It got universal acclaim from pretty much everyone who went to see it and critics. It's very... The
right,
fact that
I'm putting it out there now. You should do Brother Bear on here because it has a sequel. So...
I've seen them
there you
both.
go.
And
Yeah, Brother Bear 2 is shit. But
also
talk
Brother
about
Bear
it.
1.
No, it's not.
I'm just looking it up, right? Brother Bear, 37% on Rotten Tomatoes. Brother Bear 2, 50% on Rotten Tomatoes.
50 or 15?
50.
You can't trust the public.
That's not the public, that's critics.
You can't trust critics.
Now, for comparison, do you want to know what the Iron Giant has on Rotten Tomatoes?
86, and the top one is still your comment.
Brother Bear, 37%. The Iron Giant, 96%.
96.
Certified
Alan,
fresh.
back me up here. Back
Well,
me up here.
I mean...
Come on.
So, okay, if this is a critic's favourite and a flop with the audience, that is not a big surprise.
Yeah, but how is it a favourite with the critics? That's what I don't get.
Well, Rotten Tomatoes says, the endearing Iron Giant tackles ambitious topics and complex human relationships with a steady hand and beautifully animated direction from Brad Bird.
Great, can we talk about those heavy subjects? Because I didn't
That's
catch
the big
them.
part of it, I guess.
And those complex relationships, I'm not sure I spotted those either.
Well, the obvious one is gun control.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it tackled that, or just kind of
Talks
mentioned
about
it?
guns.
I think it tackled it. It was it basically came down on violence bad. It's a simple approach to it, but it works.
It didn't come down on the side of favouring war. It was basically saying we should be avoiding war.
Yeah, it's very pro-peace and choose to be better than your, where you come from and all that sort of stuff.
Get to the point here, because this film is set during the Cold War. And so
I love that. That's something I love. 1950s aesthetic. That's like a big tick for me. Just a little thing for... This is it. You're going to notice a lot of stuff that just does it for me on a personal level. So far we've got big robot, lovely animation, hand-drawn animation, and 1950s setting.
Yeah. And Vin Diesel not saying much. You like that?
Well, I'd rather he wasn't in it at all, but...
But the whole concept, though, of the whole, peace, not war... Don't dislike someone because they're an other, all of that. Yeah, big topics. It wasn't like this was the first film to do that, or even the first animation to do that. So why is it... Also, I'm just surprised that it's held up so highly.
Well, there's only 15 topics you can cover in a film, really. There's peace, there's peace, war, there's love, romance, there's... Look, it doesn't mean anything, it's just pure entertainment.
Well, look, with this, we get this setting and we get the the nuclear threat sort of established very quickly because
Love
we
that.
see
That's another thing I love. Yeah,
we see the kid at school watching a duck and cover
Yeah.
video, which I really liked. Actually, the satire of that that video was quite funny. And later on, when it's really hammer it home, when they say, "Shall we take cover?" and he goes, "That will do nothing."
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. But yeah, it sort of sets it up quite early on, so we know we're going to have to deal with some nuclear thing later on, and then the Iron Giant himself, we never established where he comes from really, but he seems to be a weapon used to destroy other weapons. Is that his purpose?
Yeah, that's a bit vague, isn't it?
I don't know if he's intentionally a weapon used to destroy other weapons. I think he's...
But he does react to guns.
Well, yeah, it's an inbuilt defense mechanism. He's a weapon sent to just, like, destroy, and, like, he's a war machine.
So, so the idea is he's a weapon, but he only reacts when he's under threat, or perceives to be under threat, and
well,
ultimately...
not entirely. I think... Initially, I think there's a sense of he's dangerous, but Hogarth saves.
Well, this is it.
From
yeah,
the power plant,
and the point of the film really is that he ends up learning and growing as a person, and learns to love and peace, not war, and so he stops himself from being a weapon, and ultimately sacrifices himself to save others. From their own weapons.
That's where the film ends. Yeah, that's where the film ends.
So the message is, kill yourself in order to protest weapons.
The message is be Superman, don't be a gun. I like that. I think that's nice.
Superman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be Superman, don't be a gun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't be the villain, be the hero.
Exactly. There's a simplicity to that. Not only that, I think that is the finest cinematic use of Superman in history, and probably will forever be the best use of Superman in a film.
Oh, okay, hang on. That's a very bold statement. You're saying that nothing's ever going to top that?
Well, I doubt it. Do you
want to go into why?
You think Henry Cavill's moustache is better than that?
No, I haven't seen any of the current Superman.
All right, well,
films,
Superman's notoriously difficult to make work at the best of times, and none of the films have really even come close to it.
So should we talk about the characters a little bit?
Yeah. And the performances, I suppose, that go with it. I think the acting is a really, really strong part of this film. You're probably going to go, oh, I prefer Jennifer Aniston in Leprechaun.
Well, Jennifer Aniston as the mother, just very... I mean, the one thing Jennifer Aniston got is she's complete bland, all-American woman voice. Could have been anyone. Harry Connick Jr. is the kind of the scrap guy. I mean, I don't know why Harry Connick Jr. has ever been cast in anything, really. I don't know what he is.
Yeah, he
doesn't bring anything special here at all.
He's alright. He's fine.
Vin Diesel is the Iron Giant, fairly innocuous.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, it could have been Microsoft Sam for all I care.
Rock, I am not a gun.
Definitely my favourite was Christopher McDonald as Kent Mansley. He was the one who brought real character.
Yeah,
that was the one character in the thing that felt like a deliberate character rather than just we're trying to make the blandest all-American suburbia nonsense we can.
What about Hogarth Hughes? I think Eli Marenthal is giving a wonderful vocal performance for a kid as that little boy.
We thank you for the food that Mom has put in front of us, and stop the devil from doing bad things, and get out of here, Satan.
Yeah.
Brings a lot of personality
I think
to it.
he did. Yeah, I can't argue with that. but it's still just a kid. Like it feels like, I don't mean his performance. I mean the character is supposed to be just an everyday kid. I think that's the idea. That he's just an all-American.
What about Frasier's dad?
Yeah, always nice to hear his voice.
He's good, isn't he? Again,
yes,
great voice, solid, brings a lot to it. Not the biggest role, but yeah,
should have got Ali.
When they watched that Brain movie on the TV?
Yes.
Do you know about that?
Well, no. Deliberate bad acting and stilted dialogue. I don't know if that was...
That's actual... Well, it's actual audio. It's an actual clip from the brain from Planet Arus. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, which is a 1957 B movie.
Oh, really?
And they just animated the footage from the film over the audio as it appears on screen.
Now, this is my plan. I want all of your uranium, plutonium, all your atomic resources. I want your factories, railroad, shipping, all of your industrial facilities. Your workers will labor around the clock, day and night, following my blueprints to build the most powerful invasion force ever gathered in the universe.
You mean to enslave the world? Russia would never agree to it.
That's interesting because listening to it, I was thinking they're overdoing this a bit, isn't it?
I know. I had the same thought. It's quite bizarre. Do you know a little bit of trivia? When Kent Mansley is when he's on the phone to Frasier's dad. What's Frasier's dad called?
John Mahoney.
No. What's Frasier's dad called?
I don't know.
Frasier, Niles, and Martin. I've looked him up. He's Martin Crane. Yeah, when he's on the phone to him, he looks at this oven mitt, and it's like a dog. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
You probably don't. Oh, you do? That dog is Family Dog, which was a sort of short-lived project that Brad Bird tried to get going. I think they produced a pilot, or it might have been a kind of one-off TV special. They produced a TV special or a pilot, I believe, as part of one of these shows where they just kind of do anthology. We'll put all the pilots out as a series, and then got a season. I think it got cancelled pretty swiftly. Don't think it did very well.
What about a scrap merchant who also is like an artist? Supposed to just take that on the chin, am I?
What's wrong with that? He's a beatnik.
Is he? Beatnik scrap merchant.
What's wrong with that? He's got to make a living. He's got to bring in some money. That's his side hustle that lets him pursue his art. He's got a good gig.
Got
a good setup. That's like some guy who's an actor, but he actually lives in an old abandoned building and stops squatters from taking over.
Make him sound like a superhero.
You also suggest I'm making any money.
Hey, look, the beatnik man. No one knows if he's actually making money doing it, do they?
Definitely
he probably
not.
Inherited that place from his dad. His dad's probably disappointed in him. In fact, I think it's called Scrap and Son, Scrap Merchants or something on the side of the thing. So
he's got a giant eating him out of house and home.
Yeah, it's an inherited business. He's probably not making any money, but he doesn't have to worry about the land. It's the 50s in America, so, it's easy to live on the cheap anyway. He's just doing a bit of art in his spare time. Business pretty much runs itself. It's just about owning the land to dump everything there. People come and go, oh, I need a new exhaust. And you go, oh, yeah, well, there's probably a pipe over there. There you go, have that. Piece of piss. I mean, God, Hogarth says you can probably eat that car. It's been there for months. And then he turns up. So he's taken months to get around to picking up that car.
He's half-assing his job.
Yeah.
Bloody beatniks.
But he's the only scrap merchant in town's my guess, so he's just cleaning up. I don't see any problem with that.
I think the problem comes that he's a scrap merchant, but he dresses like an artist in a black polo neck.
He's a beatnik. Yeah. I'm an office worker, but I dress like a prick as well, so what's your point?
I haven't got a problem with it. I'm just surprised Alan didn't comment on it.
That scene where the giant learns about death. You're gonna shit all over that, probably?
Which one? What
the one
happens?
with where they're out in the woods and then the deer gets shot.
Oh God, that
and
was
the giant's
subtle, wasn't
like,
it?
What's your problem? Why does it have to be subtle?
Well, there was nothing subtle about this film, was there? Really? Yeah, perhaps
It's called Iron Giant.
perhaps that's generally my
It's
issue.
about a
with it.
big iron giant.
Why does it need to be subtle?
Because it's not entertaining.
Yes, it is.
And it doesn't really say that much for all its non-subtlety. Just feels
I
like
think
I'm
it does.
being sort of smacked in the face with a big iron hand.
Well, again, I mean, in the right circumstances, I'd be alright with it.
Yeah. Oh no! Look, a beautiful living creature. Oh, killed by man. Oh.
What's wrong with that? I like that. I think that's a great scene. I think it's emotionally resonant. I don't know why you're so obsessed with subtlety. As if you're like subtle man.
Look, Vince Vaughn's humor is extremely subtle.
That's it. It can't be Big Mama's house. The levels of nuance and oh dear. All right. So when you watch this film, did you watch the original cut or the weird new one where they add a scene that doesn't really add anything?
Well, I assume the original. I don't know. I didn't know there was an option.
Was there a scene where the giant starts to...
Beatbox?
Was there a scene where the giant starts to beatbox?
No, I was just speculating what the added scene might be.
If there was, what would it sound like? Speculate away.
No.
Go
it's
on.
a fifth. No, it's the 50s, isn't it? He'd probably be singing doo wop. Anyway, go on. What's the scene added in?
The giant has a dream.
No, I didn't see that. I don't think so.
No.
Okay. Well, I only watched it for the first time in preparation for this. I'd seen the deleted scene and so on, but for whatever reason, they went back and reanimated it for some sort of 10th anniversary re-release or something of that nature. Doesn't add much. To be honest, I prefer it without it in there. But basically, there's a scene where the giant's having a sleep, and then like the TV transmission, Beatnik Man's asleep in his chair, and there's static on the TV or some TV show or something, and then it starts to pick up the Iron Giant's dream, and you get all these images of like a fleet of the giants walking through, shooting lasers and killing people and destroying planets and overthrowing planets, and it's like a hint of he's from this, other planet, has sent all these things to kill and destroy, and then the giant kind of wakes up in a sort of cold sweat, metaphorically speaking, but the
oil
beatnik
leaking down his forehead.
yeah, but the beatnik kind of wakes up just in time to see a few flashes from it and was like, what? So it kind of sets that initial bit of distrust in motion for then the scene following with them is where he nearly shoots Hogarth after he points a gun at him. Yeah, I think I prefer it without it, but it's a lovely bit of animation, like great visual sequence. Yeah, it does, of course, set up the very unsettling implication that this giant is one of hundreds, if not thousands, and
they're going to come
may
looking
have
for
turned
him.
one of them good, but yeah, there's going to be an invasion of these things.
He's the scout.
Yeah. That's where I'd go with a sequel, but we'll get back to that later, I suppose.
Yeah, well, I mean, I really have nothing else to say. The film
Yeah, I
did
don't have
not
much else to add.
generate a lot of comments from me. I mean, I like that montage scene of the guy calling him
Having a shit.
Scout and Ranger and stuff,
Oh,
where it's just he's following around the house going, "Hey kid, what's going on?"
I love this film. I think the emotions all work for me. It's very resonant. I love all the characters. I think it's beautiful. I think the music's lovely. It works on just about every level for me. I love the 1950s aesthetic. I love it when the giant goes all war machine mode at the end, and it's this kind of, I mean, it's more War of the Worlds than kaiju. It's inspired by the Martian tripods very heavily, I believe. God, some of the animation on those weapons is just like, oh, it's lovely. When he shoots at that warship off in the ocean, oh, Thunderchild.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps we've established long since on this show that visuals don't do a lot for me. So I guess animation is the same category. I wasn't getting any of this orgasmic pleasure from the animation, so I was relying on the story, and I was just not that bothered really. It was just sort of very mediocre. I just didn't care really.
I think it's lovely. I think it's a lovely little story about a kid and a robot. Have you ever read The Iron Giant?
No,
by
I
Ted
didn't.
Hughes.
No.
Were you about to say you didn't know it was based on a book?
No, I don't know anything about that.
Oh, well, The Iron Giant's a very well regarded. I read it before they made the film. It's Ted Hughes wrote it. I believe he became the poet laureate off the back of that, or just in general. But it's very, very, very different.
Well, is it American? Ted Hughes was British, wasn't he?
I believe it's British.
So is that one of the major changes they've made?
Yeah, well, the book, it's actually called The Iron Man up front. And it's about a big Iron Man. Basically, it's about the Iron Giant coming down from outer space, but it goes off in, like, society discovers about him. From what I remember, some massive alien comes down to destroy Earth at the end, and the Iron Man has to kind of defend Earth against it. It's complete, like, all over the shop nonsense that hasn't got anything to do with anything in this film, really. But I mean, look, I loved it as a kid. It's a great little kids book. I don't think there's nearly as much depth as what you get in this film, although you'd obviously disagree. Well, maybe not. But anyway, it was a very well regarded book, and it got turned into a musical concept album by Pete Townsend.
I eat heavy metal and I goggle premium jazz. I drink heavy water, nitro demotaz. That's all I drink, people. Eat heavy metal. Eat heavy metal. Eat heavy
metal. Oh, I noticed that his name was in the producer credits for this film. I was wondering.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Because I kind of I was like, I wonder if that is Pete Townsend, as in the Pete Townsend. It's probably just someone else.
Yeah. Oh, that is him. He made a concept album based on it, which is not great, but interesting. And basically, Warner Brothers, for whatever reason, optioned the album to make a film of it, and that's what got turned into this, The Iron Giant. Basically, Brad Bird came along and was like, well, this album's shit, and I'm not making a musical adaptation of this album. I'm just going to completely wipe the slate clean. We'll do something about a big giant coming from outer space, and just wrote his own. I mean, he didn't write it, did he? Well, no, did he write it? Did Brad Bird write this? With someone else?
Tim McCandless and... Yeah. Brad Bird's screen story, so...
That makes sense. Yeah, so I think Brad Bird came along and just sort of said, well, we're going to do this instead. Had the whole thing completely overhauled. IMDb gives Brad Bird an uncredited screenplay by credit as well, actually. Interesting. Along with Brent Forrester. Why do I know that name? Who's that? Brent Forrester. Is he a Pixar guy? Oh, wow, no, Brent Forrester. He's King of the Hill, The Office. Yeah, The Simpsons. There you go. So, anyway, they just kind of... It's a classic case of... I think it's one of the go-to classic examples of a book, a film that's better than the book. Whenever people go, you know, that age-old thing of, oh, the film's never better than the book. Really pisses me off when people say that, because it's people who are talking out their ass, don't know anything about what they're talking about. It's just an easy talking point to spout. You go, well, why'd you say that? They go, oh, because Harry Potter's better when you read it. Yeah, well, is that true of A Clockwork Orange? Is that true of Shrek? Is that true of Jumanji? Is that true of hundreds of things? You know, there's so many films. Every film basically is based on a book, if not something else. And a lot of them are better than the books.
Yes.
And I tell you what, how many film novelizations are better than the film? I bet it's very few of them.
Very few, yeah.
So
I'd like it to be stated for the record that Sol had that argument with himself this time, Alan. Okay? Don't want that shit landing on me.
Yeah, but spiritually, I was imagining that I was talking to you when I was doing it. You know what? I've just realised as well. Hogarth Hughes. Ted Hughes, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hey?
Yeah.
Have you read the book, Judy?
No.
Oh.
It's a very silly question.
Was it? It was a really popular kids book. Loads of kids read it.
I didn't see this film as a kid, Sol. I watched it 2 nights ago.
Well, neither did I. Oh, no, I did. I saw it when I was 10.
You did?
Yeah.
No, I didn't know it was a book until you said. I was just listening. I've just Wikipedia'd Ted Hughes. It's been great over here.
Judy?
You did so. I think my favourite bit was when the big giant hand is like fumbling around the kitchen and the kid's like, the devil!
It's great.
I mean, that was just quite well acted on the kid's part, I think.
It's a great
With comic
bit.
timing, and it was very good.
See, what a
Like-
great...
I mean,
It was like watching a
cliche,
sitcom.
and, you know, it's definitely been done in other places, but it was still good timing, it still worked, it was funny.
That's the sort of thing you'd enjoy seeing Robin Williams do, probably dressed up as a woman. This seems like the sort
Which one of us are you talking to?
Both.
Well, Judy. That's the sort of thing I can see him doing in Mrs. Doubtfire. I don't know if it actually happens, but I assume it does.
It doesn't.
I bet it does, though. A little bit.
I didn't know this, but apparently Brad Bird's sister died at the hands of her husband in a bit of gun violence.
Hmm.
And his pitch for this film was, what if a gun had a soul and decided it didn't want to be a gun? Which I think is quite an interesting idea for a film. And I think this film does that justice, personally. I think it does a really great job of exploring that. Don't think it needs to be subtle. Because, I mean...
He is a gun.
Maybe this is what it comes down to, but I think fuck guns. Get rid of them. And you are obviously head of the NRA, aren't you, Alan? So
From my cold, dead hand.
yeah. So you hate this film because you're sticking it to the libs.
Yeah, my problem is all these bloody snowflake cooks wanting to suck off Iron Giants. Cooks. Yeah, they like to cook things.
oh god.
The Iron Giant is clearly a metaphor for communism, and that's why you love it so much.
Oh yeah. Do you know why they changed the name?
Because of Iron Man?
Yeah.
There you go.
That's exactly it. Apparently, they didn't want people to think it was an Iron Man movie. So, the one thing I really won't defend about this film is the inclusion of the unnecessary happy ending, making sure the giant isn't actually dead at the very end. That completely undermines everything else that the film's done up until that point. And
yeah, I don't know if it undermines its message that it's saying. It's just tacking on a happy ending. No real.
It was
benefit.
just I think the scene where the giant sacrifices himself is a very powerful moment, and it really ruins it that he comes back immediately following it. Personally,
I don't know if it ruins it. It just feels like a nonsense tacked on happy ending, and I don't know. It seemed fitting with the film.
I don't know. I think the film's better than that up until that point. I think the film's more mature than that, and seems willing to go with that sort of stuff. And well, I would be intrigued to know what you guys are going to rate this one, given that you seem to hate it so much.
Yeah. Do you want to go first, Judy?
Yeah, I'd give it a 4.
Fucking hell.
Yep.
You guys suck.
Wow.
The 4 is good. The 4 is for basically the concepts and the artwork.
You didn't even like the artwork.
Well, hence why it's a 4. No, but it's still, I mean, it's not my taste. I can still see that it takes a lot of effort to go into it, and there are some very nice elements to it, like you said. It's just not as good as others. But, you know, I appreciate it's made of a time where things were different. I do like some of the concepts it deals with. I think Alan's right. It lacks subtlety, which in some cases is good, some cases is bad.
Unlike Brother Bear.
I'm not. Get me on an episode about Brother Bear. Keep your agenda out of this one.
Oh, hey, it's me, Rick Moranis. I'm a moose. We're doing some comedy gold here in the Brother Bear, eh?
Say a boot.
A boot?
I felt like I was being pretty generous when I gave this a 6.
Oh, I think that's about fair for how you've been talking about it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys suck, man.
So what is...
That's so harsh. Well, I for me, this is a perfect 10.
Ding dong.
I'll stand by that.
Ding
Ding
dong.
dong.
Ding dong.
Yeah, baby! Groovy, baby! Oh, look who it is. Judy, do you know who this is? Have you guys met? I don't believe we've been introduced, baby.
Oh, no.
Hang on, I've
Did I meet you at the Truman Show, baby?
Yeah.
Oh, well, can't be expected to remember all the women I meet. Yeah, baby. Groovy. Yeah.
Yes. This is David Brent doing
Very
a bad
shagadelic.
impression
Yeah,
of Austin
baby.
Powers. So...
Oh, well, thank you, Austin
perfect
Powers.
10. Perfect 10.
Perfect 10.
So this is your top 3, what with a Clockwork Orange and...
Hang on. Hang on.
Oh, hang on.
I mean, Sol has talked about how things are almost a 10 before. Can't tell you what off the top of my head, but I swear that's come up. And he just said that the end of this film ruined it, and he's still giving it a 10. Just sounds like your comments imply that it's a 9.7.
Which would be a 10, wouldn't it?
He loves to round up.
If you
Sol
round
loves
up.
to round up even when it's not appropriate, so...
Exactly. 9.7 would be an appropriate place to round up to a 10, though, wouldn't it?
So, yeah. This is on your perfect films. It's on my mediocre films.
I wouldn't say perfect. I mean,
you have already
there's
said that twice. So.
I know. I meant perfect 10, but I said it was a perfect 10. I didn't say it was a perfect film, did I? No such thing as a perfect film, but it's damn close. I love it. You guys are very harsh. I cannot believe Judy gave this a 4. That is disgusting behaviour. I'd like to withdraw all future invites to the show. I think the Patreons are going to turn on Judy.
So, Patreon listeners, this is what you get. You made your bed, now lie in it.
Yeah, how dare you support the show? How dare you support our show, you pieces of shit.
Tossers. Okay, so if you were doing a sequel, Sol, you like it so much, how would you do it? Obviously, you'd have it starting with him being found alive in Iceland.
There has been talk of an Iron Giant sequel before. I don't think it's ever gone anywhere serious. I think very rightly so, Brad Bird's always sort of said, well, come on, it's obviously a standalone film. But if they had to do it, yeah, I guess you start with the giant being found because he's clearly still alive. And I think, yeah, basically you have a big fleet of, say that giant was a scout and he's the first of many. Have the alien invasion happen, I suppose. You have the big load of giants come down and they're going to invade Earth.
And we have to take one each and convert them with love.
Yeah.
Good.
The scrap merchant, the military, they all pimp up the giant, improve him, and he goes into battle and punches them.
So Pacific Rim versus the Iron Giant.
Yeah.
Godzilla.
I think you could make a really nice dark film about the Earth being invaded with those giants. I have no idea where you'd go with it, but I think that's a good starting point.
What about if he has to fight Mecha Iron Giant?
Why?
Because that's what you do. What if a giant turns up and is like, "Where's my robot version of me? I want it back. It's my sex doll."
It's the worst idea for a film we've ever had pitched.
Okay, I think I can do
Judy,
that.
what would you do a sequel about?
It'd be really difficult to do now because I think the discussions and the kind of the research that's gone into AI is completely different. But, the idea that potentially someone either finds the giant again or he somehow returns home, wherever home is, and his modem or hard drive or whatever is all kind of overwritten again, whatever the fuck that word would be. Something technological. His wires have, he's kind of defaulted back to whatever the default. And then you kind of have a comment on how much he remembers, and then you have the question of does the robot have a soul maybe, and there's a reconnecting, having to find that humanity maybe within. That's something like that.
Well, there was a sequel to the Iron Man, the book, published by Ted Hughes called The Iron Woman. So
It's a bit cheap.
So you see where you can go
Iron
with this?
Giantess.
So the sex doll was right.
She lands complete with
Rolling pin.
a rolling pin, ready to
Where have you
smack him
been?
over the head for being late for dinner.
You said you were popping down to Earth for 5 minutes.
Yeah, puts a little dent back in his head.
Yeah, it turns out that's what that's from. He's lost his memory.
Yeah. In the book, which I think I might have read this book as well. The Iron Woman comes to wreak havoc on mankind for polluting Earth.
That's very.
It was an environmental thing, and it also gets into the idea of sexism because it's like fuck you, men.
It's as subtle as a rolling pin, isn't it?
Hear me roar. Yeah, it's a kid's book by Ted Hughes. I mean, come on.
He says Brad Bird said it's not a story just for kids.
Yeah, about the Iron Giant. He obviously, he wiped his ass metaphorically with Ted Hughes' book. He didn't give a shit about what was in those pages, did he?
I can't help noticing, just reading this Wikipedia page, that there's a character in it called Space Bat Angel Dragon.
Yeah, I told you.
Did you?
I told you a big monster from...
You can't have used those words.
Well, no, I didn't remember that's what it was called. I told you a big kaiju thing comes from space and it has a fight. So it's called Space Bat Angel Dragon.
Apparently, yeah.
Brilliant.
What about the Iron Dwarf? And it's...
What about the Iron Lady? Yeah?
Yeah, a giant robot takes over Britain.
Giant robot Thatcher.
Yeah.
Comes to oppress the workers down the mines.
People love stuff set in the 80s.
Judy, can you do a Thatcher impression?
No. It's not just me being difficult. I've never heard a clip of the woman.
You've never heard Margaret Thatcher?
No.
How old are you?
25.
All right, I guess she wasn't in your lifetime.
Can you do any impressions?
No.
Bear in mind the quality of the impressions we get on this show.
Wait, you're in a sketch comedy group and you can't even do Theresa May?
I can sing about Theresa May. I don't do an impression of
all
her.
right, hang on. Let me Theresa May.
It's gonna sound like
I'm not going to improvise a song about Theresa May for you, so.
It rhymes with gay.
So I say, when I wake up in the morning, and the sun is shining here, then I look at you, do, an ugly May. There you go.
What, and underneath is like, ugly me.
Oh, that's not nice, is it? It should be attacking her for a physical appearance.
Look, Judy's skill is in improv, so I think we should just ring the doorbell and see
No,
see
stop
who
it,
arrives.
stop it, stop
Ding
it.
dong. Look, I'll just
Stop it.
open the door. Let's see who it is, Sol.
Hello, who's it? Hello, nice to meet you. What's your name?
Indignant Judy, how are you?
It's the Iron Giantess.
Oh, fuck you, man.
Oh, she's learned the language very quickly.
That was a weird voice. Is this bullying?
Yes.
May, Theresa May.
Stop trying to tie it in with Theresa May. Okay, so that's the end of the podcast. What are we doing next?
Oh, it's such an incompetent May.
Oh, God.
That's pretty good, well done.
I'm sad. We left
It
the
ended in
EU.
June.
No, I'm sad we left the EU. Do. Oh, such an incompetent May. She just keeps going on about Brexit.
Stretching it on.
So, let's see if you can work out this subtle riddle, Sol, to see what film we're doing. 8 vaginas. Can you guess what it is?
Octomum.
It's Octopussy.
Oh, I was just going to say pussy galore, but...
What
No, I think
was
we've already done
Octomum?
Octomum. It's a woman who had 8 kids in one go.
I've just googled her. She's not bad looking. I'd have 8 kids with her as well. Oh, is that the worst thing I've ever said?
No.
That's not good, is it?
Yeah, okay.
It's not even the worst thing I've said on this show that made it to the final edit. I was just listening back to our X-Men episode. What's the joking about raping children in that one? You were cracking up, Alan. You were loving it. You were there.
I did state for the record that it wasn't funny though. So I think we're all right. I think we're covered. Okay.
It was in context, you know. It was talking about Bryan Singer.
Right. So thank you to the Patreon people who decided that this was a good idea.
I think it was. Thank you, Patreon people.
Do please.
Had to happen.
And if you want to get involved and if you want to correct the people who are making these decisions, because it's obviously wrong, you have to become a Patreon and you can vote on stuff we're doing. And also get all the extra stuff we put out there, extra Diminisodes and some full episodes we put out there.
Yeah. We've recorded a shitload. We need to find the time to edit
and stuff.
They're coming. They're coming. That's the they're coming jingle. Well, I like the Iron Giant, so fuck all of you.